Dying in your video game provides a few bits of information for you. It teaches you what was a successful execution or not. It shows the limits of your skill up to that point. It can often remind you that you were caught with your pants down and your mouth was open. Some, well, they shrug off the death, respawn, and try again without missing a beat. In most games, I'm like that. I learned that that was a poor choice, and I get another chance to either make a new poor choice or start making better ones, all depending on my mood at the time. But some games, death is a bit more harsh. Sometimes that death is permanent. So, what happens when you die and lose your gear or progression? What does it mean for you when the death sets you all the way back to zero? Now, before we get into it, here's your upload reminder. Folks, I'm just some random dude online shooting the breeze about what games I like playing. There's nothing fancy here. There's very little tolerance for drama and the nonsense of being big mad about games that don't align with your vision or impressions. We don't do that BS here. We talk about the games we like playing and the reasons we like them. If you want to jump up and down with temper tantrums because a game isn't released like you want or its current state is upsetting you, dudes, there are plenty of rage slop channels out there for you that you can visit and get lost in the voids. We're here to have fun. If that's not your jam, evac now. Okay, here we go. I am oftentimes a creature of habit. Sometimes I tend to get complacent, especially in my free time. I do like to explore new things, but I always catch myself starting to fall back into something familiar. Playing video games is no exception. I love playing Battlefield 6. I've been playing the franchise for years, so it's easy for me to not even think about it when I fire it up. It's like the first game I look at in the menu in Steam. This is just my Hannibal Steam account. I have a second account. It's a very long story why I have two Steam accounts. Anyway, for space reasons, not all these are installed, and quite a few of them were free. I do enjoy the occasional solo game, but I'm one of those weird Gen Xers that prefers a certain level of social exposure. I prefer to play games with others, even against others, if the title is right for it. I'm not a big PvP fan in the sense of hardcore competition. I'm in video games for the experience of it all, not to see if I can stomp players so hard that those defeated players simply stop playing the game. That kind of dominance often requires a certain level of psychological studies we throw out on social media in graphs and pie charts when talking about unstable shit. PvE is where I learn the game. PvP is where I figure out how much I learned. I'm very well aware there's going to be players better than me in any game I play, whether it's PvE or PvP. It's a big reason why I stopped caring about the KD ratio a long time ago. My ego isn't so fragile that I need to constantly worry if I die in a game more than I kill. My level of care isn't that high. So, by now, some of you are like, "We'll get to the point, my dude." Okay, let's swing it back then. We've talked about before how certain games satisfy a certain itch at certain times. Like Battlefield 6 hits the right spot most of the time for me when I want to play a mindless arcade shooter. When you die in something like Battlefield, you just have to wait to be revived if you're bleeding out, or respawn if it's a fatal kill, or if there's no one nearby to revive you. Unless you're one of those impatient motherfuckers that simply just respawns as soon as they're dropped. When you die in most arcade-style games, though, you simply respawn as you were before the death, right? And that's fine, nothing really wrong with that. It's how that specific game is designed. In something like Battlefield or Call of Duty, the character you are playing is literally digital cannon fodder. The death doesn't really matter to the mechanics. The death doesn't really change anything in the game outside a ticket bleed and, to some extent, scoring. Then there's games like Tarkov or Gray Zone Warfare. The death dynamic changes things a little bit. Not much, but enough to change your mental approach. Let's compare some death mechanics a little further just for a moment. In the Division 2, there is this hardcore mode. You start at 0 and work your way up, playing the game normally. The difference, however, between standard mode and hardcore is that you only get the one life in hardcore. If you die, like full death, you start completely over. Back to 0. You lose all the top tier gear, weapons, and any exotic things you had on you and in your inventory. It's as if the character died in real life. Hell, you have to recreate the character from the customization screen. And then there's some players out there that kind of like that sort of thing. And there are players out there that do not like the idea that all progression is lost. All the gear and weapons looted and leveled up is completely gone. Some even go, what's the point if the mechanic is that punishing with zero safety net? Tarkov, as punishing as that game is, still has a small safety net. It's not always 100% guaranteed, but ensuring your gear and weapons allows for the safe return. The chances increase with the leveling up of specific vendors. There's still a chance, however, something won't return. You may get all your gear and weapons back, but whatever you looted, gone. Ammo usually doesn't return. Things like that. Again, if you're at 0 but insured your stuff before going in, the likelihood of your gear returning is small compared to having an insured vendor at max level. Plus, you won't get it back immediately. There's a time frame. For Gray Zone Warfare, if you die, there's a bit of a less punishing safety net. Okay, we're talking PvE here. I haven't touched the PvP side of things yet. I'm too busy learning the game, upping my level, and leveling the vendors, and just overall enjoying the vibe of this game. I mean, look at this. This game is just a vibe visually, and we're still in beta. Anyway, there's a few things to consider here. If you're running with a squad, they can revive you if they have enough medical supplies on them to get you back on your feet. We have not stress tested this to see how far it could go, but so far, we only needed to revive one time. There are little tracking tags you can buy from Handshake. He offers different tiers with 1 hour, 2 hour, and 4 hour variations. Banshee sells them at level 1, which generally last 3 real-world hours, and at level 2, they last 6. You can even loot for them and be rewarded with them on certain completed missions as well. These trackers help you locate your body on the map after a respawn, so you could go loot your corpse in this weird self-necrophiliac way of body defilement. You buy them, and then you have to manually attach them to your weapon or gear before you run out of the main base camp or outpost. Now remember, the trackers work on real-life timers. Once the timer runs out, the tracking icon disappears and you won't be able to easily locate your body. Also, the tracking timer starts as soon as you apply it to the weapon or gear piece, not as soon as you die. Oh, and one more thing. If you die trying to retrieve the body and gear, the tracking timer will stop and the body you were trying to loot will disappear. So yes, there's risk, but it's not god-awful. And to me, it's not as grueling as, say, Tarkov. I would also suggest it's not as bad as what I'm to understand is the death mechanic for WarDogs. With WarDogs, dying in the game means you lose your current purchased loadout. The death will require you to use in-game cash earned through team actions like capturing locations and revives and whatnot to repurchase weapons and gear when you respawn. That loadout loss is weapons, attachments, and armor purchased for that life are immediately lost upon death with no passive respawn. That means there is no automatic respawn of items. You must rebuy your shit, which is why one of the catchphrases is, every life matters. This has economic consequences. Since the items are purchased through a persistent in-match economy, dying will frequently limit your ability to afford high-tier gear, and why team economy is a pillar mechanic. So, all the in-depth match cash you earn through the game means you must play well to re-equip yourself. WarDogs focuses on a high-stakes environment where teamwork is necessary to secure resources, preventing you from consistently running high-end gear without risk. Gray Zone Warfare isn't that harsh. Now, I understand that every single opinion on the face of the earth is 100% full stop subjective. What I like, you might turn your nose up to. What I dislike might be the best thing to you since toast. And I'm a casual gamer. I never considered casual a slur, unlike some people. And there are various levels of casual. Gray Zone has the look, weight, and feel of a Milsim style game. Sure, it doesn't look like there's much of a bullet drop. Death can have a finality. Tactics and strategy do play roles in this game, which suggests a much slower paced game compared to rock'em sock'em arcade games like Battlefield 6 or Call of Duty. But to me, it's casual friendly. It just requires a little bit more care. I hear a lot from other gamers in real life and on here that a more tactical first-person shooter or Milsim style game doesn't vibe with them because of the lost progression or lost gear mechanic. Other players often tend to dislike Milsim style games simply due to the slow pacing or punishing difficulty. Some often cite a higher barrier of entry. Others yet point to extreme realism, complex micromanagement, long walking distances, and even the instant death from unknown attackers as reasons to shy away from these kinds of games. They even may say that these mechanics and styles are tedious, boring, or like a second job rather than an entertaining experience. And to some extent, that's fair. Some Milsim style games are indeed like that. The pacing and boredom has given Milsim games the reputation of being walking simulators, and the action might indeed be scarce and tedious. And some Milsims have that high punishing difficulty where players often experience death from unseen enemies without a clear counter, replacing a sense of fair competition with extreme frustration. Some are turned off by the micromanagement that lives in the excessive communication or a rigid chain of command, which can ruin the experiences for many. Hell, one of my Discord members, who is also a vet, told me a story about an Arma experience where taking time off to play another game was considered AWOL and would result in their version of an Article 15. I mean, that's insane, if you ask me. Others speak of steep learning curves and prep times. The pressure to learn specialized tactics and, in some cases, invest in specific equipment or roles often acts as a barrier to some players. I'd dive into the toxic community aspect of this particular subgenre, but at this point, having just witnessed Battlefield 6's toxic community lately, this issue is everywhere. It's now a question of which toxicity can you tolerate. Milsims specifically often have the bad rep of attracting players who are condescending or take the role-playing a little too far, adding to that toxic atmosphere. And lastly, some players aren't interested in any kind of long-term commitment. In-game sponsored events or even player events can last for hours or days, requiring a commitment that casual players find demanding or clash with their own personal schedules. It's almost like a D&D session. I do indeed hear and understand these reasons and concerns. Myself and a handful of others in my Discord do have more free time than you might have available to you. We have the luxury of spending 2, 3, and oftentimes 4 hours in a single game. And not a lot of folks do. Now, I mention all of this and even went a little deep into it because, to me, Gray Zone Warfare is a happy medium for those concerns. The death mechanic is one such happy medium. The missions are not time-consuming, the walking isn't too terribly long, and there's a slew of things to do. Even the learning curve isn't as steep as, say, Elite Dangerous. To me, that game had a huge learning curve when I first played it years ago. And this is just the PvE side of the game. Remember, I haven't even touched the PvP side yet. We have this little indie game trying to bring to players a milsim-ish style game that just about any first-person shooter gamer can play. A community that wants to see it thrive, and a vibe that directly competes with AAA titles with bloated head counts and budgets suggesting they aren't hungry anymore. Am I trying to convince you to drop $40 to $50 on a beta, a milsim style game? Well, yes, but no. I'm not directly trying to pimp this game out as a must-have for any and all first-person shooter gamers. What I am doing here is suggesting as to why I picked it up and what I found attractive in it, having played a milsim or two in my time. I'm selling my experience, if you will, not the game itself. Since the Spearhead update release, there's been a 500% increase in interest and player engagement in this game. To me, it has that Game of the Year vibe in visuals, even in the sound once they tweak it a little bit. I mean, those frogs are fucking loud. The game and gunplay is pretty solid. No, I'm not saying it'll get that prestige stamped on the cover. I'm saying it has that feel, that potential. As I mentioned, it's an active beta and it looks and feels this good so far. There's plans to include it on console once the finished 1.0 product launches. It could be a big hit. I mean, the numbers don't look half bad. We have an all-time peak of just over 72,000 players when the beta launched. As of the time of this recording, we have over 10,000 players in-game right now and almost 12,000 at the 24-hour peak. There's over 3.5k viewers watching streamers broadcast their live streams playing the game. It has a 6-digit follower count. Now, these may be small compared to AAA games, but these numbers aren't anything to sneeze at for an indie game of this genre. Compare the numbers to Arm of Reforger. This game is full drop, guys, not a beta. Just shy of 25,000 at full peak. 13.5 thousand players right now with an almost 17k 24-hour peak. Just short of 4k streaming viewers. We could even look and compare to Operator's numbers. Less than 600 players right now, barely at 4k at the all-time peak. These numbers are very small compared to Gray Zone Warfare. Now, I'm not saying these numbers indicate the games are bad. Most likely they are just reflective of a very small niche of milsim-style games. And like any other game, milsims aren't for everyone. The point I'm making is that Gray Zone Warfare is a much easier milsim-style game a casual can get with compared to those more hardcore elements of other milsim games. I can easily see a lot of my Battlefield 6 audience playing this game. We have a Discord member who was all about some arcade shooters. Battlefield, Call of Duty, shit like that. He heard us talk about it, saw my video, saw another creator we have post a video and started going down this rabbit hole of other videos. He bought the game and squads up with us almost daily to play. And he's loving the shit out of it. And he even admitted it wasn't a game that he was used to playing and may not even have given it a second thought before. The vet I mentioned earlier with his strict ARMA attendance experience, he's been enjoying the hell out of it so far. Since I started talking about this game, I've had a lot of welcome to Lemang comments. This game checks off a lot of boxes for me. There's plenty of interest in the game. We have quite a few people in Discord who play it now. I spent a ton of time taking fucking screenshots because the game just looks sweet as fuck. It's a change of pace, but not too slow. Plenty of things to do. Decent community so far. It's not too milsim-y. And 4 dudes running around the jungle on a Vietnamese island, learning together and having a grand time. This is why I play it. And I just wanted to share with you lot my experiences and time. Decide for yourself if anything I said may check some of the boxes you have. Fellas, I'm all about the fun. And like opinions, fun is also very subjective. And I get that. But I would like to hear your reasons for a yay or nay. This is how we roll here. Start the conversation in the video, carry it over to the comments. So hit me. Yay, nay, and why? The plugs. Man, I'll be quick because I know you want to get started on your weekend. Members decided subbing wasn't enough. They joined the Cool Kids Club and support the channel every month. Each member talks to me all the time and wants to see this channel thrive. Members do get perks like special badges that show up next to their names when they comment on videos or in the streams. I am working on ironing out details for free shipping or some discount for the merch store for members. The logistics can be a nightmare. Speaking of the store, we have mugs, hats, shirts, gaming mats for your desks, water bottles, earbud cases, a slew of shit for you to sport around with so you can have your platoon gear. I'm working on adding and updating the store for bigger and better. Even considering changing vendors because fuck me, people seem to want keychains and lanyards and this store doesn't have them. The Discord is open to anyone wanting to join, squad up and shoot the shit and hear hot takes on games, running our mouths about whatever as we kill things, and hear me blaspheme on such topics like how I believe Led Zeppelin is the most overplayed and overrated rock band of the 70s. Like, fuck me, every time you turn on the radio, there's a fucking Led Zeppelin song in mid-play. Every fucking time. The Who was a better band. I said what I said. Anyway, we're on X, so come give us a follow. And you can find me in most games under this gamer tag if you want to squad up. Send a join request if you see me in Battlefield 6 and want to run a map or two, or send me a friend request. I'd be more than happy to run with you. And lastly, and most importantly, each month I drop a spotlight of U.S. military support groups and organizations. Last month, April's was the Wounded Warriors Project. For May, we look at Military One Source. This organization provides support for not only military personnel, but also their families. ID card information, financial counseling, leave, jobs, deployment preparations. Military One Source is a one-stop shop for information and assistance for any active duty members and their families. Check them out, share the link, or support in any way you can. The link is at the very bottom of the video description. Thanks. I appreciate all of those who stick around to the very end to see these support groups I spotlight. And with that, I shall leave you to starting your weekend. Be safe and come back and find me again on Monday so I can distract you from your usual Monday bullshit for a few minutes. Until then, out.